and welcome to the stream. Welcome to part 1 of Inhuman Resources. I'm getting started a little bit early after lunch break tactics. It was a fun little deck building auto battler where you played PvP against other players around the world. So very cool, very cool. And now, well, let's see what this game has. Unity. I'm also not sure if the audio is going to be too loud, so bear with me there. Dolores Entertainment. That's actually kind of funny. That's the same, I think, publisher then as Clue Murder by Death. So, interesting. Let's check it out. Enter your name. Finnegan Joyce. Mildly placed. There are 3 deaths. The first is when the body ceases to function. The second is when the body is consigned to the grave. And the third is that moment sometime in the future when your name is spoken for the last time. That's scary. Very cool. Okay, so this game, very bright on the eyes. I was wondering, I was like, man, I gotta hope there's a dark mode. I'll mute all. Okay. So David M. Eagleman said that one. Yeah. Oh, did I? Wasn't there audio before? I'll lower the music a little bit because it seemed a little loud. Maybe the sound effects. Well, no, we'll keep that as is. Voice volume. The phone call. It's very bright. All too familiar screeching reverberates inside your brain. Screeching? Okay. The noise comes in waves, and pain follows suit. You try your best to ignore both, but the mere fact you've acknowledged the awful sound means it's already won. Your phone alarm is simply much too loud to ignore. Defeated, your eyelids peel apart like the sheets of rotting Velcro. Rotting? Blinking back a bad night's bleary haze, you lie in bed awake against your consent. The room is almost pitch black, save for the intermittent flashing of your phone's screaming screen. A rancid, if routine, stench of unwashed bedsheets bids you as a bittersweet good morning. You're home, for better or worse, mostly the latter these days. Just once you'd wish you'd wake up somewhere else instead. Just once you would wish time would ask permission before racing ahead. But your phone doesn't care about what you want. It seems like a really nice ringtone. The insufferable screeching drills deeper into your skull. You throw back your dirty blankets, blindly reaching for the misbegotten beast. Honestly, though, this is actually just my inner monologue when I wake up with a hangover. Yeah, sure, I'll pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. The slab of thumb-smudged plastic feels comfortable in your palm. Most call the device ancient, but to you it's cozy and familiar, like an old, if outdated friend. Yeah, that's just my phone. No oversized touchscreen, no fancy graphics card for mobile games, no constant access to so or so's G network. Just a simple tool with a cute antenna that allows you time to disconnect. You've always anticipated the old and the analog. Nope, appreciated it. Despite the wider world's obsession with digitized progress, there's sincerity and physicality, a warmth to an object's weight. You'll cling to this relic as long as you can, sensible upgrades be damned. I now have the old cell phone. You fiddle with the phone, desperate to stop the alarm, but no matter which button you press, the shrieking will not end. That's because this isn't your alarm at all. It's your ringtone. Squinting in the darkness, you barely make out the caller's ID. It's your aunt. Aunt/landlady, technically speaking. Hopefully just your aunt today. The woman is exhausting enough when she isn't asking for rent payments, no matter how overdue they are. Still, should you really ignore a call from the one person still willing to support you between jobs? Oh, yeah, no. Accept the call. Static crackles as your obsolete cell phone struggles to connect. After a sharp click, you mumble a hesitant hello. Hey there, sweetie. Sorry for calling you out of the blue. Hope I'm not interrupting lunch. Oh. The scratchy facsimile of her bombastically condescending voice greets you on the other line. No mistaking your dear auntie. But what's this about lunch? You flick on a light and glance towards your microwave's LED clock display. A shameful number stares back from the room's abyss. 1:29 p.m. You wince and make up a half-baked lie, pretending to talk with your mouth full. Your aunt doesn't seem to buy it. Well, I'm sure you're very busy with job applications today, so I'll get straight to the point. Do you have any idea when you'll be able to send me last month's rent? I know money's been tight lately, but it's already the 31st. One missed payment is bad enough, but two? Shit, landlady, it is. Well... You feel yourself deflate, glancing to the tower of rejected job applications standing proud and precarious upon your messy desk. The top sheet almost grazes your modest apartment ceilings. Your aunt suggested to print each refusal, claiming they'd make your eventual hiring all the more rewarding. You found that harder and harder to believe ever since the letters started to outnumber the dollars in your bank account. Sweetie, do you have some kind of estimate for me? I would really need an answer today. You have no choice, beg for more time to pay again, lie to her, everything is under control. Let's just go with honesty. You swallow your pride. It goes down easy. There isn't much left. For the 100th, 1000th, millionth time, you swear to send your aunt the money the second you get a steady paycheck. Until then, there's no way you can conjure cash out of thin air. An uncomfortable silence lingers over your phone's speakers. After several torturous seconds, a disappointed sigh comes through. Sweetie, I let you rent that place to give you a second chance, not to keep enabling this shameful do-nothing behavior of yours. Honestly, I'd be more willing to forgive delays if I knew you were actually trying. But you can't expect me to believe you've been pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and giving this job hunt all you've got while you've been living in a pigsty for the past year. Pigsty? You deflect the woman's accusations and blabbering in desperate denial. But as your eyes shift over the sorry state of your apartment, your ramblings soon turn into tragic silence. You've been immune to the stench for a few months, but no amount of time will ever make you blind to the altars of wretchedness your neglect has erected. On the floor, at your desk, in the kitchen, and even your fridge. Oh man, in the fridge, the outdated contraption hums like a thermonuclear lawnmower, even though you know damn well it's not keeping anything cold. Maybe ketchup packets if you're lucky. Kitchen, filthy cookware overflows from your sink, bathed in rancid dishwater. A layer of film is formed on the surface, thick as crust of a creme brulee. On the desk, a fly-swarmed styrofoam containers amalgamate themselves into awkwardly unstable modern art installations. Your largest one can only be referred to as the Leaning Tower of Takeout. Crumpled stacks of crusty laundry litter the unmopped ground like landmines in an active war zone. Crusty? Oh no. I'd regret calling myself mild here. Pigsty or not, there's no denying that this whole unemployment business has been taking a serious toll. One that's gone on long enough for your aunt's pity to become well-deserved contempt. Well, what do you have to say for yourself? It's not your fault those stupid companies won't hire overqualified geniuses. She's right. You're scum. Worse than scum. She should just evict you and get it over with. You're sick of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. Can't someone else pull them up for you? Let's go self-deprecating, I guess. You throw yourself into a dramatic tirade, detailing your utter lack of worth, the hopelessness of human existence, and the filthy trash-strewn ditch you deserve to die in, preferably alone. Can we take a second? Damn! Breathe! By the time your aunt gets a word in edgewise, Your face is slick with tears and mucus, your heart tied into painful knots.
Así mi clamo.
Enough! I'm sorry, alright? I don't mean to be so harsh. Now calm down, please. It sounds like she's begging out of irritation than out of worry for your well-being, but you listen nonetheless, taking the time to control your breathing and wipe away strings of snot. The phone crackles with warbled noise as your aunt lets out a groan. Good grief, I know this mental health nonsense you keep talking about is a big deal, but you have got to get it together and take action somehow. You can't just keep using mood swings as an excuse to escape responsibility. That choice will get you nowhere. You've acquired clinical depression. Oh, thanks. A crippling chemical imbalance lodged deep inside your brain. Makes good days bad and bad days harder. Oh, wow. A treat. You brace yourself as the woman prepares to deliver her most frequent and most frustrating spiel. You could probably repeat it word for word if you were ever held at gunpoint. Remember, sweetie, in our world, choices matter. The big ones and the small ones. We can't always take those decisions back, and we can't control their consequences either. Which means we have to choose carefully. You most certainly have not been doing that. But if you make any intention of getting yourself out of this mess, you need to start making the right decisions, and soon. You hang your head and nod, gulping down your last trickle of self-respect. Hearing this speech frequently doesn't make it easier to hear. Anywho, enough of that. The real reason I'm calling is because I might have an opportunity for you. Okay, alright. You can tell by her inflection she means a job opportunity. Your reaction is practically Pavlovian. You salivate at the thought of your unrelenting financial woes finally coming to an end. You grip the cell phone tighter, aching with anticipation. See, there's a problem employee at our company. He works at one of the local branches. See, right next to where you live. But the man has a terrible attitude and is even more terrible when it comes to, well, whatever it is you think we do over there. You picture her limply waving a wrist in some vague, dismissive pattern. More of the highly confidential stuff she can't share, but brags about anyway. Not that you're entirely sure what your aunt actually does for a living to begin with. Something to do with human resources, maybe? Needless to say, we'll be laying off the sourpuss as soon as a fitting replacement is found, but we need that replacement fast. Company has a big business deal coming up, and we can't afford to be short on staff right now. Luckily, I happen to know a certain someone in dire need of a job, and this position happens to be entry level. No major qualifications needed. It even comes with a sterling letter of recommendation from yours truly. Now, this won't be an easy job. Supervisors are very strict, and the anxiety has a way of following you home. So, as you nail the interview, you're basically guaranteed stable income for as long as you need it. Smirnocore isn't prone to random layoffs. Let's have it, sweetie. Shall I schedule something for you? Ever set up an interview pronto? Politely decline. You'd rather be poor than deal with a workplace like that. Let's just have her set up an interview. High stress environment or not, it beats homelessness by a country mile. You agree to the offer with ravenous insistence. The woman breathes a sigh of relief and lets out a nervous laugh. It almost sounds like she's in ecstatic disbelief. Oh, thank goodness. You have no idea what it means to hear you say that, dear. You're literally saving my life. You should probably be the one telling her that, but you won't complain about receiving gratitude instead of judgment for once. Without missing a beat, your aunt hammers at her computer's keyboard, drafting you an email. You clamber your way out of bed, tripping over day-old takeout and mounds of dirty underwear as you push towards the laptop. I've booked the earliest appointment I could possibly find. You should get an email with the time, address, and job description too. Be sure to read everything carefully and do not be late. Mr. Burgard will skin me alive if I send him another unpunctual idiot. Oh, and make sure not to mention the whole depression nonsense during the interview. It might make Mr. Burgard think he needs to fix you. Fix you? Rather than offer answers, your aunt whispers farewell. Good luck, sweetie. I hope you'll forgive me for this someday. Huh? The line goes deathly silent, save for the droning dial tone. You get an urge to call her back, but with the ding of an invitation appearing in your inbox, it catches your attention first. Uh-oh. Your interview is today at 4 p.m. sharp, but no less. You curse under your breath, rushing to shower and get dressed. Your stack of rejection letters gets knocked over by your charge and scatters across the room in a whirlwind of standard issue responses. You beg with every fiber of your being not to come home with a new failure to add to the pile. So we've completed the chapter to enter into the waiting room. The waiting room. The packed full city transit bus comes to a creaking stop, right in front of an old building you've never seen before. Shoving your way past crowded commuters, you step onto an empty sidewalk. The vehicle roars away, fading into the misty afternoon and leaving you utterly alone. You briefly wonder if getting off here was a mistake. You review your aunt's documents, poring over the civic number, street name, and postal code, as though every character were the cipher to some secret code. By the time you finish your third revision, you're forced to concede. This must be the right address, but it's not remotely what you expected. An unnerving facade. Glazed gray brickwork and pale-veined marble unite to form a vast web of extravagant monochrome patterns. But despite all the details, the sum total still gives off a sense of cold, calculated purpose. Almost like an why can I... Anarchic? No, that's not it. Graffiti artists were hired to redesign a palliative care center. Okay. Decorative windows. As you climb in the front steps, a set of circular gold-tinted portholes stare down at you. They are unblinking, like the eyes of giant deep-sea squids. The glass is too opaque to see through, yet you suspect someone is on the other side, watching you approach. Made from half-ton hunks of glistening cast iron, the double doors have been decorated with an intricate bas-relief of skyscrapers swimming in fog. Bit ironic for such a stout little edifice. And the bronze door knocker. The alloy has been smelted into the shape of a crowned king's severed head. The object looks so realistic, you're scared it will be warm and wet to the touch. Fortunately, you see no keypads, handles, or ID scanners that would allow for easier entry. So the local branch of Smyrna Court is only 4 stories tall, yet feels impossibly imposing. It's caught between outdated aesthetics and timeless sensibilities, somehow both outrageous yet invisibly subtle, as if meant to be forgotten at a passing glance and to haunt those whose gazes linger. Did I change the category? I didn't. 1 second. There we go. There we go. You suspect you may be underdressed. Uh-oh. Your clothes aren't filthy, of course. If anything, they're rather chic, or at least they used to be. Neither time nor depression have been kind to your apparel. For all the class your best outfit once had, overuse has worn it down to a discolored, threadbare husk. Meanwhile, lack of money, motivation, and belief you're worthy of nice things has prevented you from buying new clothes for the better part of 2 years. Regardless of what you've got, we'll have to do. The hour of your interview approaches, and you won't have cash to afford a better outfit until this job is yours. Reach for the knocker and bang it against the door. The bronze object booms against the iron gates, even harder than your thumping heart. Moments later, something clicks and a latch comes undone. The doors groan themselves open, inviting you inside. You step into the building and are greeted by what seems to be a 5-star hotel's reception area. The room is utterly massive, with high ceilings that would rival a Renaissance church's cavernous belly. Its windows let no shine through, and no fluorescent light bulbs fill it with their pale glare. There are just low-hanging chandeliers, and an array of green glass banker lamps, bathing in the room in burnt orange. Upholstered sofas and coffee tables dot the space like islands, forming a winding path that leads to the room's distant depths. There, a woman stands behind a desk, flanked on each side by grillage elevators. The sharp machine gun clatter of her mechanical keyboard echoes across the room. You appreciate the old and analog, but Smyrna Corp's apparent fondness is downright ridiculous. Hopefully the receptionist won't feel the same way about your subpar outfit. Pretend to be confident, stride over like you own the place, adjust your crappy clothes, and meekly approach. I don't know, confidence? With a little luck, it'll read as self-assurance instead of total fucking delusion. The dim lighting becomes dimmer the further you go, and thick shadows close in on you like claustrophobic walls. Wall-to-wall carpeting squishes under your feet, and an unfamiliar ammonia aroma assails your flared nostrils. Whatever they use to clean the place smells strong enough to double as a bioweapon, but still isn't enough to erase the lingering stench of cigarette smoke. The off-putting odor does suit the outdated decor, however. Except for those unsettling sculptures. Carved into the room's concrete support pillars, disturbing shapes that assail you from all sides, emerging from the shadows like pretentious interpretations of 21st century demons. On your right? A bleak rendition of what you assume to be Babel's Tower is built out of steel girders, electrical wiring, and bones. On your left, headless, nude bodies are contorted in pain as veins sprout through their skin like trees sprawling roots. Okay. And then up ahead, you see human skulls whose scalps have exploded, revealing interwoven helixes of DNA strands and binary code. What happened to good old-fashioned gargoyles? Unsettled by your surroundings, your eyes drift back to the woman working at the reception desk. There are letters engraved in the wall above her, spelling out a slogan in twinkling silver font. Memore perpetuus mutatio? Mutatio? Interesting. You don't know much about corporate branding, let alone Smyrna Corp's specific suite of services, but you're not sure how effective that cryptic slogan must be. You hoped your aunt's documents would have provided insight. Instead, they were mostly full of vapid statements about connecting modern business with industry-leading talent, or some such variation of the standard corporate tripe. This is just what happens when you get got by a LinkedIn scam. You wave hello at the receptionist, but she doesn't even flinch. Her gaze remains glazed over, wholly focused on her work. She's younger than you first thought, maybe 30. Likely not quite. Sickly pale with sleep-deprived bags under her eyes, each one darker than the acrylic of her tidy black turtleneck. Her hair is knotted up into a dainty bun, her fingers devoid of polish or rings. They move across her keyboard like demented tap dancers. Wait, not her keyboard, her typewriter. It's a really, really old one, made from brass, black plastic, and way too many moving parts. A relic from the 1800s that looks like it barely scraped through both world wars. You thought your laptop was getting old. There's also a small desk bell glimmering on the counter. Maybe you should... She's a secretary, not a Victorian-era maid. Just say hi like a normal person. Ring it. Hi. You meant to whisper a polite greeting. Nervousness turns it into a shout. Oh no. The woman's head snaps forward as though hit by an electric shock. She flashes you a beaming, not quite pearl-white smile. Welcome to Smyrna Court. Do you have an appointment? The words barely seep through the woman's gritted teeth. Her grin is so tight, it hurts to watch. But there's no trace of frustration. She's the dictionary definition of too friendly. Made uncomfortably manifest. Unsettled, you stumble your way through an explanation of your aunt's referral. The receptionist replies with a nod, squinting as she reads the writing on her typewriter's latest sheet. Ah, of course. We've been expecting you. I'm afraid Mr. Burgard is running a little late this afternoon. He'll need a few more minutes until he's ready to speak with you, but you're more than welcome to peruse our visitor handbooks while waiting. She gestures to a set of nearby couches and a table chock full of company pamphlets, but you're more surprised to notice someone else already sitting there. A young man with a bitter look etched into his furrowed face. Could this be another applicant for the job? Shit, your aunt never mentioned competition. And if they turn out to be competent, you could be in big trouble. Your bleak musings are cut short by the receptionist's unpainted nails tapping on her name tag. I'm Melisine? Nope. Melisine? I think. What's up, Floppa? By the way, I'll call you as Mr. Burgard becomes available. In the meantime, please let me know if you have any questions. With a grateful, albeit embarrassed nod, you walk away and slump into an old-fashioned sofa. Melusines. Nope. Melusine. There we go. Got it. It took me a second. Melusine's rickety typewriter clacking away once more. Spelling bee game? Not quite. Just a little visual novel. The couch's cushions feel quite stiff, or maybe your strenched, clenched back does. Considering the ferocious stare down you're receiving from the stranger seated across from you, it could well be the latter. 3:42. 18 minutes left. Good thing you came early. You still have time to prepare for your interview, but probably not enough to do everything you want. You'll have to decide where to spend it carefully. Melusine said she could answer a few questions, read through those pamphlets, strike up a conversation with the irritated man. There's a magazine on the coffee table. Let's answer her. Ask her questions. Despite her extreme fatigue and even extremer stress levels, the woman definitely seemed eager to lend a hand. What better way is there to learn about your new workplace than to ask the person paid to greet visitors? You return to the reception desk with an awkward wave, embarrassed to be disrupting the receptionist's work so soon after leaving. Yet rather than appear annoyed, the woman looks up from her typewriter with a sigh of relief, the air seeping through her vice-tight teeth with a shrill tea kettle whistle. This is a little spooky visual novel. Oh, hello again. I take it you have a few questions for me. As a disclaimer, please be advised that Smyrna Core staff cannot disclose any confidential information to members of the public. Therefore, while I'll respond to your queries to the best of my ability, there may be certain details I'm forbidden to discuss. Thank you in advance for understanding. The uneasy first impression Melusine gave you worsens by every word she speaks, and not just because she keeps talking without blinking her bloodshot eyes or unclenching her goddamn jaw. The real scary part is the words being mispronounced. What words? Even though the receptionist's responses seem professional and her tone is perfectly jovial, something about her speech pattern feels rigidly urgent, almost like she's reading the words off a script with a gun pressed to the back of her head, not thanking you for understanding, but begging you to. Is she scared of getting in trouble by letting something sensitive slip, or is she secretly trying to warn you about the office's working conditions? So what would you like to know? Okay. Using sly phrasing to squeeze out some advice on how to ace this interview, ask what it's like to work for Smyrna Core and find out how stressful it really is. Yeah, how stressful is it? If smile-inducing lockjaw is the price to pay for working here, it may not be worth the money, no matter how badly you need it. But it could be that, Melusine has a much more difficult job than you ever will. As diplomatically as possible, you ask her to describe her day-to-day tasks. You didn't think it possible, but the woman actually becomes stiffer. An anxious, muted squeal creeps out of her throat, and her teeth tighten so much you swear you hear a molar crack. Well, I'm afraid our non-disclosure policies prevent me from saying much about that particular subject, but I can say that Smyrna Core works with clients all over the world and is dedicated to providing advanced, unorthodox human resource solutions for what management calls the post-truth era. My job involves facilitating that process by ensuring that both our products and customer service meets the highest standards. Our #1 guarantee is always quality, so it's important that I supervise recruitments and replacements as closely as possible. Your job will likely involve much the same. That's all I can tell you for now, without incurring considerable risk anyway. Huh? You're pretty sure that couldn't have been any vaguer. Other than the anxious laugh, her words practically sound pre-recorded. The type of boilerplate secretive response most companies would produce when trying to make people overlook a scandal. Judging by the look of fear in her eyes, Melusine is practically begging you not to look at what she's hiding. That alone tells you Smyrna Core is very strict and no doubt has a ton of corporate oversight. Sanctions must be enforced even on the most minor mistakes. Much like your aunt's caginess, the receptionist's tight-lipped exhaustion is probably well warranted. But is that really enough to just justify why Melusine looks so unfathomably terrified? Nothing's stopping you from asking to know more, but getting nosy about sensitive information right before an interview could jeopardize your job prospects. Thank you for being so forthright and say you look forward to working together. There's a good chance your curiosity could be interpreted as hostility when tensions are this high. And alienating a future coworker before you even start isn't going to help. At least that's what you thought, but instead something unexpected happens. The receptionist begins to tremble and then gently weep. Tears stream down her deathly pale cheeks and even over her bared teeth, the perpetual smile unwilling to fracture even as she shakes with sobs. Panicked, you take a single step back, wondering what the hell you said to set her off so suddenly. But Melusine is quick to apologize despite being the one who cried. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. I'm looking forward to working with you too. You strike me as a very thoughtful and considerate person. I'm just not looking forward to the work itself. Finally, a morsel of information. Although it's not exactly an enlightening one, nor is it reassuring. What makes being a receptionist so unappealing? What does it sound like your hiring would make the work even harder? Melusine snickers at your question without mirth nor malice. Rather, she seems to deflate, lowering her defenses for perhaps the first time.
Tamuva bika.
Oh, look. Okay. I think you misunderstand. Handling the receptionist... Nope, the reception desk isn't my full-time job. Smyrna Court doesn't get enough visitors for that. Mr. Burkhardt simply assigns me here whenever we're expecting guests because of my perfect attitude and winning smile. My official job title is Quality Assurance Specialist for the Substitution Department. And as for what work over there involves... Tut. No spoiling the surprise, Miss St. Sayans. I hope I got that right. If I didn't, let me know in the comments below. A booming voice rumbles across the reception room, and Melusine stiffens as though struck by lightning, clenching her jaw tighter than ever. Her heels click together like a soldier awaiting inspection. Another click is heard behind you as the angry stranger on the couch stiffens in the same way. Their reactions make no sense until you turn to face the voice, and then you too go rigid with awestruck and shock. Standing in front of the elevator is, without exaggeration, the most massive man you've ever seen. He's taller than a fridge, twice as wide, and perhaps thrice as heavy. The pure white of his immaculate dentistry contrasts with his dark skin, which reflects the room's dim light like finely chiseled onyx. Beneath the perfectly tailored patterns of his elegant tweed suit, muscles shift with every breath, threatening to burst through the seams. His pale blue eyes focus on you as he speaks with a voice like velvet thunder. My humble apologies for interrupting your enthralling conversation, friend. Our dear Melusine is sometimes a little careless when it comes to discussing confidential company matters, but I'll gladly sate your curiosity in her stead during our interview. Interview, huh? This must be Mr. Burkhardt, your soon-to-be boss, luck willing. The ding of an elevator is suddenly heard, and one of the grillage doors by the reception desk creaks open. The tweed behemoth slides his way into the shaft, packed tighter than tuna in a too small can. He beckons you to join him with a bratwurst thick finger. Come along now. We're already behind schedule and can't afford any more delays. What's more, I frankly cannot wait to discuss your future with us here at Smyrna Core. Holy shit, he thinks you have a future. In that moment, Mr. Burkhardt's big beaming smile is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Thank him and slip into the elevator. It's a tight fit, but you manage to wriggle yourself into the lift by nuzzling up to your hopefully future boss. You apologize profusely for the cramped conditions, but he just laughs it off. No need to be embarrassed. Happens all the time. Oh, and no need for all this Mr. Burkhardt business either. First name basis is fine by me. Oboya Burkhardt. Okay. Before the elevator door can snap shut, someone opens their mouth and screams. Oh, okay. Oboya, wait! Emiliano Aguilar. Okay. The French / made-up language is making me think Expedition 33 again. Well, have I got some news for you? If I'm 100% right, which I'll pull it up one more time. I do believe these were French developers. Nope. Yes! The developers are Finnegan Mortars. We are the publishers. Okay, hold up, actually. I might have gotten it wrong. They might not be French. One second. Oh, I was going to look up the locale, but yeah. I'm not sure, so don't take my word for it 100%. Canada, Quebec, and that's what I see so far. An angry-looking man you were worrying about suddenly drops to his knees, hands held together in prayer. An aura of danger that once clung to him has been dispelled by his blubbering supplication. Sir, I'm begging you, just give me another chance. I'll do anything. Unpaid overtime, I'll work on weekends, I'll kiss your damn shoes if I have to. Just please don't replace me. Mr. Burgard's only reply is a disappointed sigh. His bright white smile wavers, and tangible contempt taints his otherwise welcoming tone. I take your words as law for real. No. Mr. Aguilar, you have had more second chances than I can count, and displaying such undignified desperation in front of a candidate set to take over your position is not an endearing choice. Frankly, there's nothing more I can or want to do for you beyond offering the standard company issue severance package. Oh shit. This is the problem employee your aunt was talking about. The lamb being brought to slaughter. Also, you can survive on the paycheck they used to have. Part of you feels guilty, considering how desperate the stranger seems about being laid off. But another part of you is grateful that your predecessor seems to be such a mess. Maybe getting hired here will be easier than you first thought. Either way, Mr. Burkhart's words have the effect of an ice pick through the heart. The once intimidating stranger collapses as though shot in the chest. His body ripples with hiccuping wails, and his fists powerlessly pounding at the carpeted floor. Your maybe future boss clicks his tongue. More disappointed than disturbed, he gives Melusine a firm look and firmer orders. Miss Saint Sans, please ensure our former staffer behaves until his offboarding is complete, will you? I'll attend to him once I'm done with our guest. The tired woman gives a nervous nod, rushing back to her typewriter as though nothing happened. The clacking keys are now punctuated by the tears of a grown man. Aboya thumbs a few buttons, and the elevator doors have finally slide shut through cracks in the grillage. Gates, you see the receptionist giving you a small wave, mouthing a worrisome farewell. Good luck! Before you can decide whether she was cheering you on or trying to warn you, the floor lurches downwards. And this chapter is complete. So we proceed to the interview. And now the interview. After descending a short way, the elevator slows to a crawl, then comes to a complete stop, groaning under the combined mass of its unevenly weighed passengers. For a moment, you worry the cables have jammed. Clearing his throat, Mr. Burgard reaches over your shoulder and points to the lift's control panel. Would you like me to do the honor of entering our meeting room's access password? If you're going to be working here, you may as well learn how to travel across the office. Just type cool S long T's, 2 long T's, backwards question mark, and a line in a circle, if you please. Oh, and no need to be too brusque about it. Precision matters more than speed with these old doodads. Uh-huh. 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 The interviewer chuckles as he watches you fiddle with the eclectic symbols, amused by your apparent unfamiliarity. No doubt he's used to employees entering these combinations with the routine deftness of jaded shoppers, typing in their PIN numbers during credit card transactions. You're still not sure why he's making you type the password in, or why the elevator uses passwords in the first place. Wouldn't keycards be easier? Or normal numbers, at least? Regardless, as the last button clicks into place, the elevator resumes its descent at an increased momentum, plunging deep into the earth with no sign of stopping. After almost 20 seconds, you wonder if it's headed for the planet's core.
Ajobonica.
You'll have to beg my pardon for the sluggishness. I've petitioned to have this thing replaced, but the encryptology department refuses to let us invest in newer models. Potential security risks, or so they claim. Boogeyman hogwash, I say. An upgrade has been long overdue. Maybe once our deal with Radium finally goes through, they'll be more welcoming of true progress, eh? You nod along so politely. Pretending to understand what he means, you're unsure the display looks convincing. By the sounds of it, you'll be stuck here for a while. How do you kill time? Ask Aboya to explain his employee's unusual behavior. Yeah, what was going on? You mumble the question, half embarrassed and half afraid of Mr. Burgard's potential reaction. His blue eyes fill with bitter disappointment, though his good mood doesn't waver.
Samogeto.
Miss St. Sans unfortunately hasn't been on her best behavior these past few weeks. No doubt the upcoming Radium partnership has been causing her undue stress. But still, exceptional as she may be, exhaustion is no excuse to behave so inappropriately with a guest, is it? Whoa, 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 whoa. I was asking about the ex-employee, not her. I know, I love her. You nod in response, despite being baffled by his answer. You thought the woman was a little odd, sure, but nothing problematic. Not in any way you noticed, anyway. Before you can request clarification, Burgard's prior cheeriness returns in force. However, let it be known that he expects no such attitude problems from you, friend. The woman who recommended you for this position, your aunt, I believe, she had nothing but great things to say. She assured me you were an extremely positive person with a permanent can-do attitude and exceptional emotional resilience. And that's exactly the kind of person we need more of here at Smyrnacore. You answered the giant's compliment with an awkward chuckle. However, internally, you were screaming. You knew your aunt was bound to lie in order to guarantee you an interview, but she could have picked something more fitting for a clinically depressed shut-in who can't afford their own prescription. As you force yourself to smile through an impending panic attack, the elevator comes to a grinding halt, its grillage door sliding open. Oh boy. You sneak your way out of here. It's a bit of a battle to wriggle past Aboya, though you soon find yourself free of the claustrophobic lift and breathing a little bit easier. Mr. Burgard follows suit, flipping a light switch to illuminate the otherwise pitch black room. Welcome to my humble office. Ah, so that's what this place is. An office wouldn't have been your first guess. The rectangular space before you is reminiscent of an oversized policed interrogation room. The walls are painted glossy black, glistening in the sepia glow of a low-hanging ceiling lamp. Funny he mentions that, playing with the NFC on your credit card / debit card is the norm here. Password is rare. Yeah? If it weren't for the obvious two-way mirror in the back, the room would appear infinite in size, a boundless expanse of inky shadow extending in every direction. A single desk sits at the room's center, made of a block of carved mahogany. Coffee-stained paperwork covers its surface like some madman's wallpaper, and countless colored wires sprawl across the floor, as though the varnished wood had somehow sprung electrical roots. Leather chairs fit to dwarf royal thrones loom over both ends of the table. No doubt custom built to accommodate Mr. Burgard's colossal frame. The behemoth briskly motions for you to take a seat, but you sink so far into the plush leather it feels more that the seat takes you. On this side, there's an antique candlestick phone with whose mouthpiece is made to look like a large roosting bat. Okay. On that side, there's an old-fashioned record player adorned with gaudily gilded Smyrnacore logo. And right in front of you, there's a nameplate engraved with the words Aboya Burgard. Or Obaya? Senior Substitution Department Supervisor. Okay. And scattered all over the place are piles of VHS tapes, each labeled with tags written in Latin, Farsi, and ancient Greek. The item which perplexes you the most, however, is an old vinyl record, snugly wrapped in yellow. Keep out tape. Mr. Burgard notes your interest with an amused arch of his brow. You wouldn't happen to be a fan of jazz, would you? I love jazz. Boya's smile can grow no bigger, but it certainly shines brighter upon hearing your enthusiastic answer. Well, then I'm quite excited to find out what a fellow connoisseur will think of this particular gem. Carefully placing the confidential vinyl onto the old record player, Mr. Burgard lowers the needle and bids you to listen. A strange, somber soundscape slowly fills the office with blues-inspired rhythm you can't quite compare to anything you've heard before. It's not appalling per se, but it's perhaps a little messy and eerie enough to make you uncomfortable. The duet voices of a man and woman muttering warbled lyrics only adds to the strangeness. We can't make out a word they're saying except for the chorus verse. Let's call the whole thing off. Did I? We can raise that. This is the whitest thing I've ever seen, and I've seen my own reflection in the mirror. It is a very bright visual novel. I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think the chat box line is gonna come up very well. Huh. Gina and Herschel Gershwin, twins, if you're wondering, not a couple, despite all the turbulent rumors that once surrounded their odd relationship. I've never met them myself, but I do know they could have been bigger than the Beatles back in the band's heyday. The biggest case of my career was making sure they wouldn't be, and I always found it tragic that only one of their records was left intact in the world. Though I also feel quite lucky to be the man who owns it. Few will ever have the privilege of hearing such avant-garde work. You utter a few admirative oohs and ahs, feigning interest to conceal your perplexity. What does a human resource company have to do with ruining musicians' careers, and how could a boy be employed, let alone alive, during the birth years of rock and roll? He's not that old, is he? Before you can scrutinize the man's non-existent wrinkles, he promptly clears the stray documents from his desk, making space for a repulsively familiar sheet of paper. Your loathsome fucking resume, laid bare for the world to gawk at. God, you're sick of seeing that thing. Aboya interlaces his fingers, pale eyes darkening into a severe state. You suddenly find yourself keenly aware just how dangerous the man could be should he choose to embrace violence over verbal repartee. But hello, Keeper. Hello. Welcome in. I don't think I'd be able to join you for Warhammer this evening, though. Hey, sorry. Time to begin our little interview. I'll be here asking you a series of questions. Some will appear rather peculiar and others innocuous. They may be difficult to answer at times, as you've not been made fully aware of your position, nor of Smyrna Chord's company goals. However, I still request that you provide honest and instinctive responses, regardless of context. They'll give us a better idea of the role you'll be assigned during your time among us. Wait. You have to ace an interview before being told about the job you're applying for? What a mess. Either Smyrna Core has an intuitive hiring process, or their non-disclosure agreements are so incestuously interwoven no one can get any work done without being strangled to death by red tape. I know. Go. No. You. I love you. Still, Aboya's words make one thing clear. The only way you'll get hired and earn a salary to pay the rent you own is by acing this goddamn interview, no matter what it takes. Give a firm nod and reassure him you'll be earnest. Yeah. Aboya chortles with satisfaction. The sound is deep and rumbling as a rock slide at the bottom of a well.
Kudomijaji.
Wonderful, let's get started.
Notisamini.
Question 1. A runaway locomotive is barreling down a set of train tracks at uncontrollable speed. In its path lay 5 people, tied down and unable to move. If nothing is done, the locomotive will surely crush them and end their lives in an instant.
Tome
You stand in a trade yard next to a large lever. You know that if you pull it, the locomotive will divert its course onto a separate track. However, this will cause it to crush a different person, who is also tied down to its alternate path. How do you ensure all 6 people escape the tragedy alive? Well, that's not quite the where do you see yourself in 5 years shtick you're used to. How the hell are you supposed to respond? Um... Dodge the question by discussing other ethical conundrums and how they expose moral biases. Yeah. We could that one, or remotely triggering emergency brakes. It's a train. I'll do we're gonna avoid the question. This one's weird, dude. Aboya's hypothetical scenario is just a variation of the trolley problem, an open-ended dilemma, which has a way of making sane people sound like psychopaths. In a bid to save face, you change the subject by praising Burgard's insightful question, sparking a larger debate on the nature of good and evil. The topic, thankfully, seems to be one of the giant's personal fascinations. He quickly launches into a long-winded monologue concerning his favorite social experiments, the principle of double effect, and deeper questions about whether the suffering of a few is worth the benefiting of many. You do your best not to grimace as his explanations grow increasingly graphic and disturbing. After several minutes spent rambling about the impossibility of objective morality, your supervisor seems to remember he was supposed to interview you.
Notisamini.
Okay. Well, I'll be. I can't even tell when you put me under your spell there. You're quite the gifted conversationalist. Working at Smyrnacore will often involve engaging with people at a similar level, steering their minds in the correct direction while providing the illusion that the correct choice was always their own. It's a key part of our human resource processes, and one of the reasons why our failure rates are so low. Furthermore, you do not appear intimidated by discussions that veer into morally ambiguous territory, or into the more treacherous regions of human psychology. That will give you a significant advantage against most competitors, whenever you must deal with clients who have suffered significant trauma. Huh? Boy, working in human resources sounds a lot more complicated than your aunt first made it seem. Are these people sure you're cut out for this? Before you can wonder any further, the behemoth clears its throat. Okay, we got social aptitude. That's pretty good. Now, moving right along to question 2. Could you kindly rephrase your greatest flaw so that it sounds like your greatest strength? Oh. Be advised, I do not want to hear any of that cowardly, I'm too much of a perfectionist, or I'm a huge workaholic claptrap most people use to make themselves sound flawless. I want a proper blameworthy weakness reconfigured into a proper praiseworthy strength. Understood? Okay. Okay. Sure. But, like, I feel like they're not making I'm too much of a perfectionist as bad as it is. Because it is a major flaw. But, hey. The behemoth leads forward and the room's darkness looms with him. Both close in around you like the walls of a solitary confinement cell or the rope of an eager hangman's noose. Better think of something good. Let's see. You spend too much time chatting with coworkers, but it helps you understand them and cooperate effectively. You browse social media during work hours, but it keeps you updated on current events and tech trends. Sure. The world is a volatile place, and not just politically. Advances in computing are constantly revolutionizing the way that we interact as a species on a daily basis. But staying informed online allows you to adapt and even thrive despite those challenges. It has nothing to do with the fact that you have a mild internet addiction.
Kudomijaji.
A wonderful response, if I do say so myself. Too often do our underperforming employees fail to consider the contexts in which our clients are placed, or the negative consequences of a seemingly positive decision can have on the long term. A data-driven, future-facing perspective such as yours could prevent excessive occurrences becoming of such
Ajobonica.
common issues. Furthermore, in light of our upcoming partnership with Radium Inc., your familiarity with modern technology shall prove an invaluable asset for onboarding, shall we say, older-fashioned staffers. No kidding, if he means the kind of staffers that work on typewriters instead of laptops, you'll practically need a non-call doctor to keep them from having heart attacks once you teach them touchscreens exist. Snickering under your breath, you prepare yourself to answer Mr. Beauregard's following question. Okay. Technologically literate. Your overall intelligence relative to the matter of machines influences your tool proficiency, learning speed, and instinctive computing abilities. Okay. Now then, onward to our final inquiry. Regarding your schooling, I would like you to, well, if you could just explain the, goodness, how do I phrase this delicately? The behemoth's words trail into muttered mumbles. His velvet thunder voice degrading into something more akin to a bumblebee is stuck in a big dog's mouth. His blue eyes dart between you and the paper's underwhelming bullet points with increasingly disgusted concern, as though finally noticing what kind of unemployable aberration has stepped into this building. It's an unfortunately common reaction for anyone who reads your CV. The singers on the record player shout out a loud suggestion to just call the whole thing off. Their advice, for better or worse, goes unheeded. Well, at the risk of sounding insensitive, I truly appreciate some insight regarding your academic background. How do you believe a workplace of our nature could benefit from hiring someone with such a dubiously incompatible education? You began sweating bullets, big bullets, the kind of caliber robot cops must use in action movies from the 80s. Of course it was going to come down to this, no matter how dearly you wish it. If it were possible, you can't magically go back in time and study something more prestigious for today's job market. But you might be able to describe your word diploma in a way that makes a strikingly enjoyable impression. You studied computer science, you're skilled with technologies old and new. You studied Ultimate Frisbee, the apex of education for any teamwork-loving athletic superstar. You studied child psychology. You're good at reading people and creating emotional rapports. That one, because I don't want to do math puzzles. You're unsure of what kind of services Smyrna Core really offers, but there's no doubt social sciences could come in handy with human resources. By honing your communication skills and providing extra insight into people's personality quirks, your schooling should prove useful in dealing with coworkers and clients. But flip that around. You discuss some of the intricacies of your most memorable seminars, specifically those concerning mental development and lingering infant trauma, known to emerge decades later. Examples of how early experiences inform otherwise incoherent attitudes among grown adults. Mr. Beauregard's concern mellows into curiosity with every passing explanation. And then, as your story concludes, he regards you with outright admiration. I cannot even begin to explain how often our Smyrna Core representatives fail to consider the significance of formative experience when it comes to mapping out an individual's psyche. Childhood memories are often overlooked, yet integral to determining the root cause of a client's wants, fears, or failings. And in our most extreme cases, identifying those root causes is utterly essential to succeed. The fact that you have such a thoughtful and informed perspective before starting your first day, no less, is truly, truly incredible. Correcting human behavior is a complicated multi-layer process, but your pre-existing awareness of that fact will be a major asset. His flattery sends swarms of butterflies fluttering about your stomach. It has been a while since you've last received such a compliment, let alone actual pride in yourself, as opposed to the usual undercurrent of exhausted shame. Trauma is an asset. Yeah. Ironically, a therapist would probably have questions for you about that. Okay. Child psychology specialization, the social skills you've acquired by studying the inner workings of developing minds, and more social aptitude. Your overall charisma, honed through countless interpersonal interactions, influences your persuasive capacity, perspicacity, and conversational finesse. Anywho, I believe that concludes our questionnaire for today. As for your results, The man's enormous fingers crumble your CV into a ball and toss it aside. It bounces across the wire-laden floor, disappearing into an inky corner of the abyssal room. Your chest tightens, panic swells, catastrophic scenarios and thoughts of crushing failure explode through your head. Oboya's beaming smile diffuses them all.
Kudobijaji.
To tell you the truth, this little meeting of ours was nothing more than a corporate mandated formality. Between your aunt's glowing recommendation and the fact you showed up to our offices on such short notice, I knew from the very start I would be wanting you on board. After this discussion, I'm pleased to announce that my hunch has been confirmed, and I am most pleased to be extending you a permanent employment offer. He's clearly mocking you. Pinch yourself to awaken from this embarrassing dream. The pinch hurts, but nothing more. Mr. Burgard clears his throat, and the baritone of his next words is like a serenade from reality, finally acknowledging you as an honored guest.
Yawona Kimo.
No need to look so bewildered. It can't be the first time someone's been impressed by your skills.
Notisamini.
Our exchange has revealed that you're an individual of exceptional interpersonal acuity. A sharp mind with an even sharper intuition honed by keen intelligence and earnest empathy. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that you're skilled at talking yourself out of trouble, or persuading folks to see things your way, regardless of where the truth may lie. Of course, you'll sometimes face scenarios where social deduction and charisma will prove insufficient, but I see a bright future for you here at Smyrna Corps, managing our most prestigious and precarious operations.
Yawona Kimo.
So, would you deem my interpretation of your aptitudes accurate, or have I misconstrued the content of your character? Yeah, I like it. Flattered by Oboya's appraisal, you relish in the satisfaction of having been truly seen. It's not every day you get such a precise, quantifiable breakdown of your unique abilities. May they serve you well in tackling the horrors to come.
Notisamini.
Horror? Wait a minute. Good to know. Very good indeed. In that case, I'll nudge administration to start producing your contract. I'll unfortunately have to remain cagey about some of the details, such as workplace tasks or starting salary, until all the legal hoopla has been sorted. But assuming you care to accept a generous starting offer. Mr. Burgard chuckling deepens as he extends a massive hand. His blue eyes are bright with joy, his tongue hungrily running over his pure white teeth.
Yawona Kimo.
Please allow me to informally welcome you as the newest member of Smyrna Corps. I look forward to reviewing your performance. Holy shit! It's actually happening. You're going to have a job. You're going to have money. Enough of it to pay rent. Keep a roof over your head. Eat food. Anything. Let a few tears flow and tell him just how grateful you are. Boya doesn't answer your appreciation with words. Rather, he reaches forward, leaning towards your hand, the way something in the tall grass would stalk towards unaware prey. Instinct urges you to pull away, but the behemoth's pounce comes too quickly. Before you can possibly react, your entire hand is engulfed within a fist the size of a ripe cantaloupe. Ow! Almost instantly, something begins to feel terribly, terribly wrong. Despite Mr. Burgard's pure white smile, it feels as though your new boss is trying to leave you crippled from the wrist down. Ow. 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 You cry out in pain and beg Burgard to let go, fight to pry your fingers free, but the giant's grip is iron. Deaf to your complaints, if anything, he squeezes harder. The needlepoint pain inside your hand sinks even deeper, deep enough for you to think it might pierce the whole way through, deep enough for you to wonder if it could somehow kill you. Your jaw unhinges to let out a scream. Before a single sound comes through, Burgard lets you go free with an innocent sounding oops.
Ajubonica.
Dearie me, I was a tad too firm there, wasn't I? Beg pardon, friend, I tend to forget my own strength sometimes. The tweed behemoth lets out an earnestly apologetic chuckle. You force yourself to chuckle back, but the laughter takes tremendous effort. It's hard to buy his excuse, no matter how believable it may be. Panicking, you palpate your palm and numbed fingers, searching for any scars left by the thing that was drilling through your flesh. But there is no wound. No torn skin, no deep cuts, not even mild bruising. You don't even feel the pain anymore. All you find is a single bead of bright red blood, no bigger than a pinhead. You wipe it away, frantically seeking what lurks beneath. It is warm to the touch and leaves a scarlet smear across your skin like the painter's brush. Yet there's no sign of where the paint has come from. No wound, no scar. There could be some swelling, but it's faint enough to make you suspect the bulge isn't really there. Maybe, just maybe, it was all in your head. Yeah, investigate that swelling no matter how paranoid that may be. You press down hard on the tip with the tip of your thumb, searching for a lump or stiffness. You're sure you've spotted something. A clatter interrupts you. From one of his desk drawers, Mr. Burgard withdraws a slab of metal the size of a stovetop. At first, you assume it's a tablet device built to fit the Tweed giant's fingers and resist their vice-like strength. Or perhaps a turntable meant for an aspiring DJ painted in drab colors. A closer look reveals something older and clunkier, made of gray aluminum and solid beige plastics. Blinking buttons, flickable switches, knobs, and sliders of all kinds decorate its crowded surface with a cluttered interface too complex to grasp at a glance. Despite your fondness for outdated tech, you cannot tell what kind of machine this is, nor what purpose it's meant to serve. Your best guess is an old movie prop stolen from a studio set of a sci-fi film from the 1950s, and not necessarily a good sci-fi film. Mr. Burgard bends over to grab heaping handfuls of wires off of the messy floor, seemingly at random. He sorts through dozens of them at a time, plugging only a paltry few into his device's outlets. Now that the pleasantries are finally done with, I suggest we proceed to the evaluation portion of our exchange. Evaluation? What evaluation? No one told you to read a test, let alone that comes after being hired. What if they find out you're actually inept? What if you came all this way and got so far and screw everything up right at the end? Shit. Come on now. No need to get so agitated. I've already agreed to hire you. It's not like I'll be terminating your employment. But for your first probationary milestone... The format of this evaluation will be similar to our open-ended interview questionnaire, but this time I'll be presenting intentionally confusing scenarios that most Smyrna Core employees might encounter during their day-to-day tasks. Your goal is to present solutions to each particular problem as you deem appropriate, regardless of how unconventional the suggestion may seem. Yet again, there are no wrong answers, but I will tally your responses to determine how much supervision you'll require during onboarding. In other words, I once more encourage honesty over making a good impression. For both our sakes! The behemoth flicks a large switch upon his instrument dashboard. A low, droning, palpable hum fills the shadowy room. The light bulb hanging above you flickers and then goes dark, bathing the already dim-lit room in nigh absolute darkness. Only the device's glowing buttons, reflected in the two-way mirror, provide you with any light. Shall we get started? Let's call the whole thing off, the record player begs you, over and over again. It seems to be stuck in place and skipping a few beats. Unfortunately, your body is also stuck in place, petrified, in your plush chair, and your heartbeat is skipping a few beats more. You give your sore hand a tight squeeze and hope the throbbing will stop. Ask him for more information, no matter how limited. 100%. Mr. Burgard denies your request with a firm shake of the head. Ignorance is key, he explains. The more prepared you are, the more inaccurate the results. And I am a man who greatly values precision. Okay. Your new boss's bratwurst thick fingers push one of the machine sliders to its absolute limit. The room's brassy hum increases in pitch and frequency. I'll start you off with an easy one. Let's say hypothetically you are supervising a group of employees from a different company. They hired you to isolate the source of their decreased productivity, then remedy the issue. And it does not take long for you to identify the problem. One of their staff members is extremely troublesome. The giant pauses, uttering a tisk of irritation. It seems he wasn't supposed to specify this mysterious employee's gender. When he speaks up again, he enunciates slowly with more careful consideration. This hypothetical individual has made undeniably inadequate productivity level. They never meet bare minimum expectations. They lack punctuality, disrespect their colleagues, browse unsavory websites with company property. Instead of dedicating their limited work hours to completing overdue urgent paperwork, their misconduct is continuous and condemnable. The employee has been given multiple warnings and provided with opportunities to improve their performance. Both have either failed or have been ignored. Their client is contemplating firing the problematic worker, but are concerned that becoming understaffed during an especially critical moment of the fiscal year could jeopardize their important deadlines. What do you think should be done to reestablish the client's baseline productivity? Well, I got more cards. Install software on their computer that limits access to non-work websites. That one seems right. If the employee is just compulsively texting and web surfing, why not cut the problem off at the source? Most of the office networks limit access to undesirable content nowadays, so it can't be that hard to set it up. Plus, it'll prevent future staffers from indulging in the safe habit. Though your internet-based solution might be complicated to implement in a workplace that relies on refurbished typewriters, Oboya's blue eyes bulge with admiration, his lips curling into an epiphany. Epiphanic ooh. Got it. This is exactly why I keep telling upper management we need fresh thinkers in the office. The perspectives you bring to the table aren't limited by our old hat ideologies and are much more in tune with our planet's current digital landscape. That's why the upcoming deal with Radium Inc. won't just improve our technical infrastructure, it'll improve our technical literacy and technical imagination. Furthermore, I love that the core of your strategy essentially relies on imposing discipline through ignorance and obfuscation, which are the techniques Smyrna Core values dearly. After all, how can slaves ever think to disobey if they were only allowed to learn obedience? Huh? You're not sure you enjoy that comparison. Yet, as if emphasizing his point, the giant fiddles with his antiques devices, myriad buttons and knobs in a series of complex operations. Oboya completes his complex mechanical operation with a flourish of flashing lights and a sequence of high-pitched beeping, and the machine's noises are loud but not startling, not compared to the other sound. It's faint at first, muffled, maybe distant, subtle enough to make you wonder if it's part of the record player's tune. But the longer you listen, the more unmistakable it becomes. Someone somewhere is screaming. Your nails dig into the armrest of your overlarge leather seat. Your eyes dart about the room, searching for the noise's source, before landing on a two-way mirror and your own aghast reflection. It's coming from across the glass. You hold your breath and wait for the scream to rise up again, but there's only the record player's music. Music and the white noise buzz of Burgard's machine as he hems you back to attention. If you're in need of a restroom, I can point you in the right direction. Otherwise, I'd ask that you please complete this evaluation with a smidge less fidgeting. It negatively impacts our tool's acoustics, you see. It's like you didn't even hear it. Was the scream inside your head? Just like the pain in your hand from before? Or maybe... Ask Mr. Burgard if he heard that person shouting too. The behemoth sighs in irritation, his friendly facade fading for a frightening split second as he states the seemingly obvious. Of course I heard it! Now pay attention, this is important. Oboya flips another switch. The room's buzzing shifts into a frequency so oddly low, you feel it sending ripples through your organs. The giant gestures your way with steepled fingers, further disturbing your unsettled guts. Now let's say, still, hypothetically speaking, that our problem employee has a more specific shortcoming. He is utterly unwilling to cooperate with one of his coworkers, perhaps a matter of long-standing interpersonal friction originating from external sources. Maybe there's an irreconcilable difference between them in terms of moral, political, or religious beliefs. Regardless of the exact circumstances, our floundering staffer has proved themselves incapable of playing nice with their high-performing teammate. This has resulted in a severe decline in both their productivity levels. Knowing we cannot relocate the problem employee to a new department, nor displace their high-performing partner, how do we ensure the former collaborates with the latter, despite the deeply rooted discord between them? Principles are learned, not biologically dictated. Teach them new values, better suited to a workplace. Hang on. You did hear that? What the hell was it? I want to answer. I want that. Yeah, I'm going to ask the scary individual what it was. Your voice cracks as you ask your question with a high-pitched squeak. Your nails dig deeper into the armrest as your plush leather seat. Praying Mr. Burgard's explanation will stop your pounding heart. Unfortunately, the giant doesn't appear forthcoming, merely furious. Well? Pray tell, were my instructions incomprehensible, or is your ability to follow directions so truly subpar? The only one asking questions during this evaluation will be me, friend. Save your own for later, particularly if they're of the foolish, obvious sort. And for the last time, sit still. I can't keep the frequencies adjusted if you keep wriggling about, and I would hate to have to restrain your movements by force. Or so he says, but he almost looks impatient to see you misbehave, urging you to act in a way that would require swift discipline, the kind that make you yowl for mercy, just like that sorry soul who may or may not have been streaking across the glass. You swallow hard and sit extremely still, depending on how best to answer. Well, hitting it with a maybe could be fine. I feel like if we say principles are learned, not biologically dictated, teach them new values, we're gonna, like, brainwash someone. We're gonna, like, lobotomize them if we choose that one, I feel. So let's do the maybe. It's not uncommon for higher ranking staffers to throw colleagues under the bus just to make themselves look good. And neither status nor seniority can excuse cruel behavior. It would be irresponsible to leap to the productive employee's defense before investigating impartially. You puff out your chest, proud of your well-worded statement and firm commitment to ethical justice. That pride instantly wanes when Aboya begins sneering. His smile narrows into a condescending slit as he adjusts his machine specs. You poor naive little thing. Before you assume me to be heartless, let it be understood that I agree with your thesis. The scenario you speak of is not uncommon, especially in this workplace. But to be completely frank, my chief concern is the office's productivity level, not the mental well-being of a consistently inept employee. Therefore, even if a staffer is behaving problematically, I'm willing to overlook minor offenses so long as they can meet a deadline. As for their negligence effects, well, that part is rather unfortunate, yes, but we have ways of making them forget anything untoward happened in the first place. Uh-oh. Before you can ask the interviewer what the hell he means, another sound reaches your ears. It's not a person's scream this time, but neither is it a vinyl's tune nor a machine's hum. Well, it resembles a dull, wet, rhythmic thud. Once, twice, thrice, you hear it, a little louder each time. Your eyes dart about the room looking for the noise's source. You find it staring back at you from across the two-way mirror. You see the handprint of a blood-stained palm, slapping against the looking glass, begging to be let out. Your mouth goes dry as it hangs open. Your finger shakes as you start to point. Then, without warning, the thudding suddenly stops. All that remains is silence, and a message written in scarlet smears. A cry for help no one can answer. Aboya looks over his shoulder, seeing the red stain. You wait for him to react, or gasp, or even scream. All he does is harumph at it, annoyed. I really need to put more pressure on that janitor. The soundproofing in here has been unacceptable as of late. With more grouching grumbling, he tweaks a couple of his device's knobs, as if nothing happened. Then, noticing your aghast expression, he furrows his brow, not with concern but confusion. Is something the matter? What's going on back there? What kind of evaluation is this? Your voice cracks as you shout, but Aboya appears unperturbed. Bored even, but most of all, he appears irritated by your refusal to sit still and listen. Reluctant, or perhaps defeated, the man provides an brief, albeit unpleasant, explanation.
Saboketo.
As stated previously, contractual obligations prevent me from revealing classified company details. However, I can assure you, this is all standard Smyrna Corp procedure. Now please control yourself until said procedure is completed, or I'll have to contain your outbursts by any means I deem appropriate. Okay. Play along. Terrified of ending up like the person? Question mark. Across the glass, you scrunch your lips shut and silently pray. This meeting will end with your life intact. The tweed behemoth applauds your wisdom with an ever-widening smile.
Kudobijaji.
Wonderful. I'm thrilled you're willing to be so cooperative despite these distractions. Now, regarding the conclusion of our conjectural conundrum,
Notisamini.
let's say, and I cannot stress this enough, that our aforementioned staffer is hypothetically assigned to contain a major data breach. One with consequences that could spell disaster for their company and coworkers alike. The sensitive nature of this task requires them to exterminate or indefinitely debilitate any individuals who have witnessed this leaked information. So they have become incapable of further dissemination. In this case, the information has only been accessed by two people: the employee's spouse and their prepubescent offspring.
Ome baden.
Needless to say, our employee is reluctant to perform their duty and exterminate these individuals. However, if either family member remains alive, the company stands to lose everything. Furthermore, should they refuse to tie up these proverbial loose ends, you will be required to do so in their place, as outlined in your Smyrna Corp contract. How do you ensure these targets perish as intended, and that this data breach remains contained, regardless of this problematic employee's hesitation? Uh-oh. Beg the employee to go through with it. Killing those two people could save hundreds. No one should have to kill their family to bury the company secrets. There has to be a better way. Kill me, if you dare. As you stammer your undignified answer, Mr. Burkhart's expression goes from jolly to deadpan faster than you can think. He fiddles with his instrument settings with a disappointed frown, indifferent to your pleading.
Bonekaye.
Normally, I'd applaud any employee willing to consider better ways of doing things around here, but I sense you're less interested in optimizing your duties and more concerned with avoiding them. Frankly, if this is how you react to a hypothetical version of this scenario, I loathe to imagine your reaction when actually confronting the situation in the workplace. You'll need to learn how to perform under pressure around here and fast. Drumming up a few more buttons and eliciting a few more beeping noises, your manager's expression shifts somewhat as his strange machine's monitor displays your evaluation final score.
Ajuboneka.
Well, the good news is that your score is entirely acceptable. Not impressive, mind you, but acceptable nonetheless. Your mind is obviously quite sharp, and you have good critical reasoning when it comes to human-facing issues, but you buckle under pressure whenever unnecessary ethical considerations are involved. To show compassion in our line of work is often little more than a naive, self-imposed handicap. Whether or not you overcome that handicap will ultimately determine your competence in engineering a doppelganger. Doppelganger? Unfazed by your panic and bafflement, Mr. Burgard reaches for a nearby candlestick phone. The mouthpiece realistically macabre roosting bat design makes it seem like he's clutching a live pipistrelle and shoving against the cavern that is his giant mouth.
Notisamini.
We're done here. You can show them now. On the other line, a reply is chirped. Aboya hands you the phone and motions you to listen in. His pure white smile looks wide enough to tear his cheeks at the seams. Except the phone. You gingerly seize the occult antique. It takes you a few tries to grasp at how the winged mammal is meant to be held, and even longer to hold the earpiece to your head. By the time you figured it out, you wish you hadn't. The two-way glass at the back suddenly turns transparent, revealing yet another room filled with aesthetic contradictions and logical anomalies. Your first urge is to scream, but your voice makes no sound. Perhaps your cries are deafened by whatever the fuck is going on. You stand before what seems to be a hospital operating room. Its walls are adorned with a mix of dark wood panels and mounted stag heads, bathed in the sterile glow of a circular fluorescent lamps. At the far back, you see the silhouettes of two surgeons toiling away behind a curtain, carving apart the skulls of their fully conscious, unsedated patients. You want to look away, but you can't even blink. There's too much to take in. There's the patients themselves. They almost look like twins. Both have been tied down with belts to their respective surgical tables. Both are men with tan skin, furrowed brows, and bloodshot stares. Both have the tops of their heads partially concealed by curtains, where the surgeon silhouettes prods at their scalps with forceps. Only one of them is screaming, as though death would be a mercy. There's the surgeon tools. Blood-stained aprons hang from wooden coat racks, while stainless steel surgical trays contain an assortment of gruesome devices. Bone saws, hand crank drills, and strangely hairy bone-white bowls, glistening with dark red. Your stomach gurgles upon realizing they are the sliced-off tops of human skulls. There's televisions hanging from the ceiling. Boxy Technicolor units have been suspended above each patient's head. Their crackling screens blast them with an unrelenting montage of childhood videotape footage, warbled ECG readout, brain scans, and news network broadcasts. Each man's eyelids are held open by metallic speculums, denying them the privilege of looking away. And there's the woman taking notes. She stands with her back to you, jotting down observations on a clipboard as she studies each victim's reactions. Though her shoulders are shaking, she writes with a steady hand. The muffled sounds of saws slicing through bone threaten to make you throw up, but instead you feel your heart sink into that pit of nausea that realize something truly chilling. You recognize two of the people in that room. Look closely at the clipboard-wielding lady. Sensing your stare through the glass, the woman turns around. Details leap out one at a time, making the pit in your stomach sink deeper. A black turtleneck, hair, bun, tight smile spread too wide, exhausted eyes bulging and bloodshot, pupils shrunk into tiny pinpricks. Melusine. A single tear runs down her cheeks, lips wavering as though trying to speak without breaking her lockjaw grin. You get the sense she's apologizing for not being able to warn you that this was going to happen. Perhaps she's merely heartbroken to see that you succeeded into getting the Smyrna Corp job. Whatever the case may be, she once turns her back to you, focusing her attention on her loudest patient. Emiliano Aguilar. You, please tell them I'll change. Tell them I'll do better. Just don't let them replace me. Melusine, I'm begging you. You can't do this to me. I have a family. His words are cut off by gurgling spasms, eyes rolling into their sockets as the surgeon silhouette behind him cuts off something inside his head. Blood and brain matter splatters the curtain, hiding the worst of the scene. The sounds of squelching meat and bones still carry over the receiver. Yet, it's the other calmer patient's voice that truly makes you nauseous. He doesn't just look like Emiliano. He sounds like him. Exactly like him. You! Please, tell them I'll change. Tell them I'll do better. Just don't let them replace me. The lookalike's face remains impassive, even as his exposed brain is prodded at with a hand crank drill. Yet the imitation of his neighbor's blood-curdling cries is perfect. Every nuance, every pause for breath, reenacted down to the finest detail. Better than any audio recording you could ever imagine. More immaculate a simulacra than any man or machine could ever be capable of. So perfect, in fact, that you're no longer certain which is the real Emiliano. Hey, Melusine. How was that? Am I laying the accent too thick? It seems fine to me. But Recommend letting your voice crack once in a while. It's been known to happen when Mr. Aquilar is heavily inebriated, and considering his drinking disposition, that particular nuance will come up quite frequently. Gotcha, I'll give it another go. Hey pal, can you give me some fresh material to rehearse? You're all a bunch of psychos, motherfucking heartless psychos. Emiliano sobs and howls himself raw, retching as the surgeon hacking his cerebellum induces full body spasms. The other Emiliano merely clears his throat before howling much the same. You're all a bunch of psychos, motherfucking heartless psychos. How about that? Bit better? Considerably. I'll notify the post-op technicians to implant a few more speech impediment-inducing memories and apply brain damage relative to Mr. Aguilar's alcoholism. That should iron out the last neurophysical kinks. The other Emiliano gives him a firm thumbs up, leaning back to enjoy his lobotomy with the lackadaisy indulgence of an expert barber's scalp massage. Melusine turns to face the glass, her wide smile pulled painfully taut. She looks at you with tears and mascara streaking down her face, her grin seeming to cause more pain than either patient's cerebral surgery.
Look at me.
What? Was there anything else you needed to see, Mr. Burgard? No, thank you, dear. That'll be all. Just wanted our new hire to get a better idea of the daily grind. Oh, but do let me know if we need to make adjustments on mediatic nutrition, will you? I'll be on standby. With a curt nod, the receptionist turns her back. You hear a click and then a dial tone. And the phone ceaseless screeching abruptly cuts off. Across the glass, Emiliano threshes with all his might, the sound of his screeching muted once again. So what do you think? Pretend to be calm and curious so you can figure out what the hell is happening. You studied childhood trauma long enough to know explosive reactions and incite abusers to commit further violence. Even though it almost kills you, you keep your voice as steady as possible, expressing mild surprise and even milder confusion about the absolute nightmare unfurling before you. Mr. Burkhardt looks pleased as punch by your polite interest. A seismic laughter creeps up his cavernous throat as he gestures to the two Emilianos. I'm glad you're coming to this with an open mind. Most recruits get surprisingly antsy at this stage of our proceedings. What you see here is the most common and most heavily patented human resource service Smyrna Corp provides. We replace troublesome members of society with specially trained, lab-raised actors that will live more efficient lives in our target's place. And what's more, we've performed today's processes all according to your specifications. Your specifications? You had nothing to do with this. Unperturbed by your protests, Burgard motions to the silhouetted surgeons currently picking at both Emiliano's wet and naked craniums. First, as standard procedure, we have our doppelgangers undergo extensive surgeries. This ensures their size and appearance matches their target. However, we also perform highly precise neural excisions and hormonal dosing sessions to ensure both replacement and replacee have identical synaptic pathways. That means they'll share the same tastes, reflexes, and handicaps wherever applicable. Furthermore, as per your suggestion, I've encouraged our surgeons to physically excise all sections of the brain unrelated to workplace performance. I'm not entirely sure if that's how those so-called firewalls are supposed to work for computers, but either way, our doppelganger should only know in obedience and thus never disobey. Ugh. After completing his bleak announcement with a showman's tone, the giant points to the device on his desk. Its myriad cables run along the floor and worm their way through slits in the two-way glass, connecting to the flashing televisions hanging above the patient's faces. Next, we bombard our subjects with doctored historical information and falsified childhood memory footage to rewrite their lived experience. This will erase problematic attitudes and induce more desirable proclivities. As you can tell, the process is rather unpleasant for the original Aquilar. who is experiencing the unraveling of his own identity in real time. But remember, his suffering is inconsequential next to the heightened performance of his superior colleague. Besides, if done right, neither Emiliano will even remember this. With an emphatic flourish, Oboya tweaks another one of his machine's many knobs. A television screen flickers, replacing its gruesome slideshow of warfare footage with pictures of a pastoral farm. The latter Emiliano squirms and then screeches. Finally, the tweed behemoth nods to Melusine, whose eyes glance between both her patients, taking notes whenever one of them imitates the other. The two are becoming increasingly impossible to tell apart. And last but not least, Miss St. Sans arguably has the most important task of all, quality assurance. You see, our procedure is human, not mechanical. Instinct trumps algorithm when it comes to understanding people. Thus, it is imperative for staffers with an eye for social cues to study the effects on non-sedated lobotomies, particularly during back and forth exchanges between target and replacement. This allows us to adjust mediatic nutrition quickly and to identify overlooked flaws in body language, voice modulation, and personality. All this ensures our doppelgangers perform their jobs correctly. In other words, she will be ensuring that at least one of these Aguilars exterminates their family members correctly. Miss St. Sans is a woman who comes up with solutions, you see, not excuses. Holy shit. He wasn't lying. You may not have pulled the trigger, but you did help him load the gun. As you reel from the weight of the revelation, Oboya holds up 3 fingers, one by one, and he curls them down. Psychological rewiring, psychological reconditioning, social reintegration. These are the pillars upon which Smyrna Court's substitution services are built. This is how we guarantee that the tens of thousands of doppelgangers currently deployed to the public perform exactly as they must. It's how our company has controlled the course of human civilization for years upon years, steering it in whatever direction our executives deem right. It's how the right people have shown up at the right times at the right places, how the wrong items and ideas have never appeared at inopportune occasions. And it's how you will help us do our job, regardless of which department you are ultimately assigned to. So are there any further questions about your new job's responsibilities? Why the hell did my aunt not tell me? But we'll do this one. Why the hell is Smyrna Court doing this to people? Mr. Burgard's expression darkens with disappointment. It appears your lack of imagination offends the man. His ensuing condescension is so extreme, it prickles your skin with goose flesh and raises your blood pressure to all new heights. Why do you think we do this? What reason is there to do anything? Other than achieving control or acquiring capital, it's the only reason you agreed to this interview, isn't it? Frankly, our motives are just that simple, friend. The only difference is that Smyrna Court seeks to control the tides of civilization itself, not to wait about the paddling pools. Those civilizations build for themselves. The tweed behemoth spreads his arms, taking up a dramatic stance. His muscular limbs cast a vast, all-consuming shadow, much like the one his company must cast over the world. Societies, you see, are merely sets of rules, meant to control select populaces, enforced by means of moral codes and legislative threats. Histories are not but narratives, parading as objective fact, deterministically controlling the future by redefining the past. Economies are broad equations engineered to establish hierarchies and restrict freedoms indirectly. Our missive is to alter the evolution of all these entities, everywhere in the world, for the betterment of our species. This can mean overturning governments with silent revolutions, establishing or destroying businesses to reroute the flow of wealth, even altering history in ways that force us to reinterpret the present. All the world's a stage. Men and women merely players, but Smyrna Court is the playwright, casting every actor's role. Today your role has been decided to, and if you care to keep a roof over your head, you should refrain from delivering a disappointing performance. The giant's finger prods your chest as he speaks, each tap like a bullet thudding against that Kevlar vest. Across the mirror, Emiliano screams as though he felt those gunshots too. His cries an ode to the dark future which awaits you, a future of perpetual, inescapable servitude. Well, we kind of can't refuse the job. So, boy's right. You need money to work here. Or need money, you agree to work here until you've saved enough to quit. It'll never happen. The thought of helping these monsters makes you sick, but turning down the offer means you'll end up on the street. Thus, you promise Burgard to work hard and do better than Emiliano. For now.
Notice samedi.
Wonderful, but be advised, you'll need to perform very well for a very long time if you intend your time with us to be temporary. After all, we've already signed our first contract, and its strictest clauses do not expire anytime soon. The man's pale eyes drift towards your palm, the one he shook that you thought was bleeding. Looking at your palm, you realize the hunch was fully justified because something did pierce it. There's a lump beneath the skin. A small, subtle, rectangular protrusion you hadn't noticed until now. Probably because it wasn't flashing, let alone making such an obnoxious sound.
Tome baden.
This, my friend, is what we refer to as a non-disclosure microchip. A brand new addition to our confidentiality policy, specifically designed by our future partners at Radium Inc. It serves as an ID to access our offices, but also as an employee loyalty failsafe. Should you ever admit brain activity associated with treason, unauthorized divulgation of confidential data, or any such nasty business, the chip will emit a warning signal. Should the warning go unheeded, a lethal dose of borodinium-210 will be discharged, a non-traceable radiotoxic isotope capable of inducing total organ shutdown within seconds. In other words, lest you care to experience a particularly messy demise, I suggest you remain on your best behavior until you die of natural causes. It will kill you with radiation poisoning at the slightest hint of corporate infidelity. That sucks. Your microchip starts beeping faster, till it matches the demented tempo of your beating heart. No telling which of the two is about to explode first. The signal is interrupted by Mr. Burgard's tisking as he checks his belt-sized watch. Dearie me. Seems I lost track of time. Other appointments beckon. I'm afraid our meeting is at an end. You best return home and get plenty of rest. You'll need it for your onboarding. Oh, and please, don't consider suicide as an option, or as a solution to prematurely terminate your employment. I'm well aware of your unfortunate mental health diagnoses, but I'd be ever so unhappy to see such a predictable scenario come to pass, especially since we'd just be wasting time replacing you with a doppelganger or otherwise. I recommend you try enjoying this, if you can. Your moral crises and panic attacks should be like water, running off the proverbial duck's back. As Aboya chuckles, an elevator door screeches open behind you. The open shaft greets you like a gaping maw of a deep-sea fish. You glance between the open door and your manager, wondering if it's really safe to leave. But by the time the behemoth gives you a cheeky wink, you're already making a run for it. Your fingers mash every single button of the keypad's confusing display, hoping some combination of keys will get you as far as possible. Eventually, the grillage gate slams shut. The floor lurches upward, and Mr. Burgard waves goodbye, speaking the most chilling words you've heard all day. See you tomorrow. Beep. Beep. Your microchip's alarm slows to a crawl as all your hopes and dreams die in a slow, whimpering death. Congratulations, you're hired. And with the chapter complete, gamers, we are going to wrap up our first experience with Inhuman Resources, a literary machination, because it's freaking scary and I don't like it. It's already hit in a lot of ways that I am uncomfortable with. So I'm gonna go and eat pizza and I'm gonna go play some. I don't know what if I'm not gonna play anything. I might read a book. I'm gonna go read a book, I think. I got scared. So, good times though. Good times. Spooky. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day/evening. YouTube, thank you. As I read through this. And, thank you to the publishers for letting me experience this very spooky game for the first time. Maybe we'll come back. We'll have to find out next time. Until then, have a good one. Bye-bye. The scariest part is the job app. Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot. I'll be honest. I'm like, oh. But it was great.